Prepare yourself for a talk radio experience like no other.
Strap yourselves in and hold on.
He stands for truth. He stands for justice. He stands for what's right. This is the Alex Jones Show. Call Alex now, toll free, at 877-590-5525. Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
It is Patriots Day 2009, April 19th. It was 16 years ago, hard to believe, 16 years ago that the feds, the Delta Force, this is congressional testimony, went in and machine-gunned all the Davidians as they tried to enter out the back of the building. After the feds set the place on fire, they were going to show them who was boss. BATF, 51 days earlier, had pulled up, opened fire on the wooden church, killed a bunch of people. The Davidians fought back. The BATF cowardly held their hands up and begged for mercy. The Davidians let them leave. And, of course, then the children, women, and men were all slaughtered with extreme pleasure. And that's how the New World Order rolls. And then 2 years later, the Waco had ignited such an anti-New World Order movement that the feds bombed their own federal building. And I've interviewed the police, the investigators. It's come out in declassified FBI documents. It's been in major news that was a government black op. You can go to Infowars.com and Google search Oklahoma City FBI documents if you'd like to read it. It's been in the Associated Press, been in major newspapers. Where it broke in Salt Lake City when the judge in a case by a lawyer investigating it ordered the documents released. It's all right there for you. McVeigh, a black op officer, shut up by his own people and then drugged throughout the trial in Denver and then executed quietly in Terre Haute, Indiana. But I'm not going to digress and get into that today. What we are going to cover, ladies and gentlemen, is the cold, hard facts of what's happening to our society and the predatory elite that is taking over. Now, for the last 11 years, I've been in possession of secret federal training documents for federal police, state police now being federalized near local police. And about a month ago, 5 weeks ago, we broke the MIAC report, federally written, in Missouri, saying Ron Paul supporters, libertarians, Bob Barr supporters, gun owners are basically terrorists. And then we also broke the major news 2 weeks ago that is now national news everywhere, about a week and a half ago to be technical. It's now major news everywhere, one of the biggest stories of the year so far. The federal report itself, one of many, actually written by George Bush's people and then reissued by Barack Obama. We pointed that out in our articles, but when the national fake conservative media picked it up, they didn't want to tell you that. They wanted to make it a left-right issue. No, it's not a left-right issue. They list people that are for bike lanes as terrorists in training manuals you can read at Infowars.com. Anti-death penalty groups, peace groups, environmental groups, anyone who basically can spell their name, anyone who can basically talk, hasn't had all their mercury injections and doesn't drink enough fluoride, anyone who can rub two brain cells together is listed as a threat to the government. But this newest one does say that the number one threat to Homeland Security and its main job is to deal with returning veterans, period, gun owners, people buying guns and ammo are terrorists. And so just remember that. That's how the establishment always acts. They pick a weird group, a kooky group, a group that they can get most of society to say, yeah, go ahead and burn down that church. They're a bunch of weirdos. And they were pretty weird, but most of the really bad stuff was lies. I've investigated it in depth up in Waco 16 years ago. And they torch those people, and they use it to set a precedent. You know, first Hitler didn't start with the gypsies or the Jews or the Seventh-day Adventists. Hitler started with retarded children, then mildly retarded children. They would euthanize them. Race hygiene. They used the psychiatric system. Then it was unpopular minorities like Jews and others. Just like they set up Homeland Security to, quote, deal with Muslim terrorists hiding under your bed, Now they admit the entire time it was being set up for the American people, those that don't like 80% tax rates that the UN's calling for, those that don't like open borders, those that don't like police states. And now the Army Times, Northcom, the Army War College have announced their number one enemy is the American people. And they're going to use the military on the American people for gun confiscation, and that's in all the government documents. And we list those. I've made films about those going back for 12 years. I don't know, 99, I guess. No, 97, 12 years. That's my first film. Made 12 years ago, 97. It's now 2009. So this is the facts. Now, I make this point quite often because it's so important. Throughout history, throughout time immemorial, tyranny is the norm. It is the ether in which humanity swims. Oppression, disarmament, enslavement, having economies that are totally imploded because the elites do that by design. And that's how we've known what was going to happen in the future, because we're reading the UN documents, the Council on Foreign Relations documents, the Trilateral Commission documents, the books written by these people. And I've written countless articles and had my writers write countless articles and linked to countless editorials written by these people where they tell you exactly what they're going to do. Now, the head of the Council on Foreign Relations, the true government of the United States, in 2007 republished an article in the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard N. Haas did, that he had written in the early 1990s for the Club of Rome. And in that document, he states that the environmental movement is completely phony. It's a new religion. He's very atheistic and makes fun of people and says they need a new religion. We'll give them one. Now, there are certainly real environmental problems. Don't get that confused. They're saying they'll hijack the movement, create a carbon tax on the entire carbon cycle between plants and animals on terra firma, this planet. And that they would then regulate and control every facet of Western society and shut down every factory and business. Why? Because they don't like you owning guns. They don't like your pension funds. They see you as spoiled. Their job is to bankrupt you so you live like they do in Mexico or North Korea. This is all stated. And so China, India, all these other nations, they have to make zero carbon cuts. The United States does. England does. Germany, France, Belgium, Holland, the Netherlands. Japan. This will leverage all production to third world police states the globalists already control. China signed IMF World Bank agreements for one-child policies under State Department Memorandum 200, which you like to read, State Department Memorandum 200, declassified in 1992, written in 1973. Now they're setting up a worldwide control grid to restrict your access to energy, to jobs, to make you feudal serfs so they can force a one-child policy on you, so that you're totally at the will of the government. Why don't you read State Department Memorandum 200? Why don't you Google it now instead of sucking your thumb and watching sports this evening? Do you like being conned? Do you like being lied to? Do you like losing your entire future? If you want any future for yourself, and we always said in the past, for your children, you're not going to have to wait. Maybe you don't care about your children. Do you care about yourself? They have done it. EPA takes first step towards climate change. That's the AP headline. And then you read, it will be hundreds of new taxes, bare minimum. Already in Oregon, New York, California, they're banning fireplaces and permits for new homes. They're banning space heaters and fireplaces in Europe. Total control over every facet of your life. There's another headline. Waxman won't compromise on 20% carbon cap and climate measure. Do you know what a 20% cut in our greenhouse gas emissions will mean? Do you have any idea the level of that tax? House Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Henry Waxman said he won't compromise on his proposed 20% reduction in greenhouse gases over the next decade in the face of criticism from lawmakers who say the economy could suffer. Have another article where they're going to put a carbon tax on all your cars. And then they're going to fund all of their other programs. The death camps are built. We'll be right back.